Hey guys! In today's video, I'm flipping through my notes from AP European History this past school year. So first, I'll be explaining what exactly all of these notes are and what's going on here. Then later on, I'll be giving some advice about AP European History. It's specific to the AP Euro class, but hopefully those of you who are taking history classes with a different focus can still find these helpful. This would be especially applicable to other AP history classes. So here is what is going on in these notes. These are organized into folders called unit packs, and this is how we turn in work to my teacher at the end of every unit. So in these unit packs, we have all of the notes and activities that we did for each unit. I'm just skipping through all of the activities to just the notes, which include lecture notes and textbook notes. So for lecture notes, our teacher requires us to take notes in alphanumerical format, and the color code we use is green for anything related to the key concepts, yellow for examples, and blue for other important things. Textbook notes are different in that they're kind of a Cornell note style format. We have a summary at the end, and we use pretty much the same color code, except we also add in pink, which is for anything that we have questions about, which we ask about in class discussion on the next day. If you'd like a more detailed explanation of how I take notes from my AP Euro textbook, I'll link a video about that in the cards right now. And now on to the advice for AP Euro. First of all, keep in mind that this is the only AP class I've ever taken, so this is not meant to be some sort of magical, perfect method that will guarantee you a 5 on the AP exam. I'm just hoping that you guys can learn from my mistakes and my successes. That way you guys can do better than I did, since I feel that although I did fairly well in the class, I definitely have learned a lot about how to take AP tests and how to learn history. My main tip would be to pay attention to the key concept outline, which is a framework for the entire course that is publicly posted by the College Board every year. So this is basically the people who give you the test telling you exactly what will be on the test. So the way to best utilize this, based on my experience, is first of all, after taking notes from the textbook or taking lecture notes, use a certain color. I personally used green since that was what my teacher recommended us to use, and use that color to highlight all the information that corresponds to the key concepts. Then it also helps to memorize at least one specific example that corresponds with each key concept. This way you can use this example as evidence in short answer questions, LEQs, and DBQs, basically any essay question where you have to bring in evidence. Also, the official College Board document lists examples for each key concept in the right-hand margin, so it would be in your best interest to memorize those, as that's basically the College Board telling you that these examples are important and it's very possible that they'll appear on the AP test. My next tip would be to memorize the key figures and their major beliefs. I've noticed that there are a lot of questions about who would most agree with a certain statement or event, or who would most disagree, who would most agree with each other, just things like that about what major players in history thought about events at the time, their political views, economic, social, all of those things. This also helps for multiple choice questions, because if you don't fully understand the passage that's the stimuli for a certain set of questions, you can look at the author's name and pretty much guess what the passage was saying based on what that person's major thoughts and beliefs were. Next, don't waste your time on memorizing the exact dates of most events Or heck, you don't even need to memorize any more than 10. The only things where you'll have to know the specific year are the really important things that you probably already know, like the French Revolution or the start of World War I. The only years that are important to know are general time frame periods of certain historical trends, such as the Renaissance started in the 1400s and lasted to around the 1600s. The age of colonizing Africa was the late 19th century, things like that. You'll pretty much never be asked the exact date or year of anything. AP Euro is far more focused on cause and effect, change and continuity, a sort of deeper historical understanding of how things are connected, rather than just memorizing names, dates, facts, and figures. I apologize for how vague this explanation is of what the focus and main point of AP history classes are. It's really hard exactly to qualify what information and knowledge and thinking skills go into it, but rest assured you'll definitely figure out very quickly what exactly these classes entail once you actually take them. On a more concrete level, here are a couple of note-taking tips. First of all, as you take notes from your textbook, record anything you're confused about and highlight that with a certain color. I used pink since that was what my teacher asked us to use, and then later you can Google it, you can ask your teacher, you can discuss with your classmates, because in AP Euro you can't get away with just recognizing the name of an event. You'll need to know causes, effects, more detailed historical information in that vein. Another tip for taking notes, abbreviations are your best friend because AP Euro is very content heavy, so you'll have to take a lot of notes, and to save time and space and the effort of you writing by hand, you want to abbreviate as much as possible. So I recommend coming up with your own abbreviations for words that are really common, like the names of countries. So for example, I made France into FR, Germany was GER, and other words that show up a lot are social, political, economic, and in each unit, certain words will show up a lot. For example, in Unit 1, which spans from the late Middle Ages until the end of the 30 Years' War, Renaissance and Reformation were very common. Then the 19th century was Unit 4, and that might be considered the age of isms. One especially common one was nationalism, which became NATNLM. And for all of the other isms, I made a superscript M, which kind of looks like an exponent into a shortened form of ism. I would recommend you to make up your own abbreviations though, not necessarily go with mine. That way you'll know them by heart and you won't have to have a key or anything. And now switching gears, I feel like the only resources for test prep that I really needed were the textbook that I used for school, which is the Western Heritage AP edition by Kagan, and Albert.io, which is a website. And I bought the premium subscription, which gave me access to all of the multiple choice questions. I feel like all of those other prep books, like Barron's or Crash Course, really weren't needed. Albert.io is perfect for multiple choice. By the way, not sponsored by them or anything. I don't think they've ever heard of me. Basically, Albert.io offers practice questions, and they also have practice exams. I find these really helpful because they have a lot of practice questions, and they're updated to fit with the standards that change with each year. Also, the questions have explanations for why the answer is a certain answer, which really helps clarify understanding of how to answer multiple choice questions and the historical knowledge that goes along with it. I think there are two main facets to succeeding in AP European history. First, you need your actual knowledge of AP European history, and this can be achieved by, learning the historical information. The AP Euro class and exam are so in-depth that there are no secret test-taking tips or flowery language in your essays that will allow you to BS your way to a good score if you don't actually know what you're talking about. Then once you've got that base of historical knowledge down, you can use that to sharpen your test-taking skills at the certain way that multiple choice questions are asked, how to address the essay questions, and things like that. Again, this is really vague and I'm not sure how to explain it. These are really soft skills that you'll develop through practice. And for that reason, I think it's really important to do practice exams, whether they be on Albert I.O. that I mentioned earlier, or the exams that are released by the College Board. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you took AP Euro and you have any tips, be sure to leave them in the comments. I upload new videos every Monday and Friday, and you could check out my Tumblr and Instagram, which are linked in the description. See you next time!